This video is sponsored by YFood. So this is my Toyota GT86. And this is my Maserati Gran Turismo. You can't really compare the two cars. The only similarity is that they're both two-door coupes. And obviously the Maserati has a Liberty Walk kit fitted to it. A genuine Liberty Walk kit to it. And this is my only wide-body car at the moment. Well, that is until today. Now this is a Rocket Bunny version 3 replica body kit. Very Need for Speed. Yes, and the full kit is made out of fiberglass, and you guys know my history with fiberglass. Remember when I said this? If I ever buy any more fiberglass body kits, that is an invitation to all of you guys to come down to my unit and kick me square in the dick. Now, despite that, the GT86 looks so good when they've got a Rocket Bunny kit on. Now, the only experience I've got when fitting a wide body kit is with the Maserati, where I had help from Colourcraft, a professional body shop. But I think I've picked up some tips and tricks, and hopefully we can get this on. So enough talking, let's get this thing in my unit and start fitting the Rocket Bunny kit. Let's go. Okay, so we're gonna get straight into this, no messing around. The first step is the front bumper. We're gonna start from there because everything connects from the front bumper backwards. And the one thing that I've noticed is that the front bumper won't actually go on because the crash bar is stopping it. So that only means one thing. Yeah, we're gonna cut it. So each side of the crash bar needs to be trimmed off to allow for the bumper to fit on nicely. And once the crash bar was cut, I could actually fit it on to the car. And it fitted, well, pretty average. I just drew a few holes in the top so I could put some temporary bolts in there. Then the old brackets need to be removed off the wing, just so the new bumper could sit into place. So first step completed, the next step is to move on to the driver's side wing, or over fender if you're American. We want to make sure everything lines up, because if we mess anything up at the front, then we're going to have issues at the rear. Now, a lot of you guys know that when fitting the wide body kit, it means you've got to cut the existing arch. And if my cut goes anything like that line that I'm drawing, well, we're in trouble. Okay, so it's cutting time for the GT86. For some reason, I just don't feel bad about this. I just really want to do it. But I've measured it a little bit smaller than what I should do, or a little bit under the size that I should do. And then I can always add to it, but I'm just going to give it a go as it is now. So wish me luck. Okay, so we're cutting the standard wing so we can allow for bigger and wider wheels once the Rocket Bunny kit is fitted. Now, the cut isn't the prettiest, but, well, it's cut, isn't it? Okay, so I've made the first cut. It's not the prettiest of looking things, but it does the job. And you're not going to be able to see this once the whole kit's on anyway. I've got my sander around the edge, so there's no sharp edges or anything like that. And, well, yeah, the wing has sort of got, well, it's still got a little bit of structural integrity. Okay, so with the wing cutting out the way, gave me a little bit of a confidence boost. I was now on the roll and getting ready to fit this Rocket Bunny kit to the car. Next step is to fit the front wide arch to the bumper. Once we drilled the holes for that, it was then time to drill holes for the new wing, which will connect to the old wing. Now, you can use these things called Cleco pins, which would hold it into place. Well, I didn't have any of them, so I just used one self-tapper to hold the wing into place. And, well, it did its job, didn't it? Okay, so we're making some steady progress. We've got the bumper on and now the front arch to an extent. All that's holding it in is one self-tapper here. We're going to use riv nuts and Allen key bolts eventually to hold it in, just like the Maserati. Now, next up is the side skirts. Now, everything depends on the front bumper and the front arch being mounted correctly, because everything from then on backwards, if it doesn't line up, is going to just not line up further down the line. So fingers crossed we've got this thing right. But first off, it's time for a YFood, who have sponsored today's video. Now, what this thing is a meal replacement drink. Not a protein shake, not a diet drink, or not just your average milkshake. Now inside one of those sachets there is 400 calories, which contains 26 vitamins and minerals. It's high in fibre, it's high in protein, it's lactose free, it's gluten free, and there's no added sugar. That way you can be 100% confident that your meal replacement is a healthy one. Now Y-Food is perfect for people who are constantly on the go like myself, and if you want to give it a try, with help from this banner appearing underneath me right now, you're going to get a discount code for one of the taster packs, which the link is in the description for, where you can find your favourite flavour, and then once you've found it, you can upgrade to one of these 1.5 kilogram bags. That is a lot of meal replacements. Thanks Y-Food for sponsoring this video. Right, onto the side skirt. Okay, side skirt time. Pretty much the same concept as the front wing. We just got to make sure that it lines up with the front wing and then it lines up with the rear as well. I'm going to use the same thing, one self-tapper to hold it into place. Then we can work out whether the rear arch will fit into place. And of course, we need to make sure that we can still open and close the door without hitting the kit. Swiftly on from the side skirt, we're onto the rear arch, and this side isn't too bad because we actually have a reference point, which would be the fuel cap, but that ended up being an issue. Oh, a bit there. Yeah. I've got a solution. So with the fuel cap not being able to open, I had to sand down the edges just to give a bit of clearance for it to open. Again, not the prettiest of things, but something that can be fixed before paint. Okay, so although it doesn't look like we can turn back now, we can actually turn back. We can get some new wings and we can fill in a few holes as well. But this is where the point of no return comes. We've got this rear quarter on. Obviously, I've had to make a little bodge job here to open the fuel cap, but we can sort that out when it comes to paint or wrap. Now, inside here is the rear quarter. We have got to cut this to allow for bigger wheels so it doesn't rub. Now, I don't actually know how far to cut because you can see through there, I don't know whether we need to cut from here upwards or do we cut further back. I am not too sure. You know what we've got to do, and that is send it. So that's exactly what I've got to do. I've got to get the whole kit off again, mark it out, cut it, then put it back on. Oh, wish me luck. Now, if I said I wasn't nervous about this, then I'd be lying. But there's only one way you can go at this, and that is with confidence. If you're gonna do it, you gotta do it full send. Now, on the rear quarter, it actually has two skins, the outer skin and the inner skin. This is the reason why I'm cutting a line at the bottom and at the top as well, just to separate the two skins. And once my not so pretty line has been cut, I can then separate the outer skin from the inner skin. And this is what you're left with. A bit of a mess. And if you look just closely, you can actually see inside the car now. Now what I need to do is cut loads of little fingers here so I can fold them up onto the outer skin. But this will all make sense later. Okay, so although it does look like a right mess, these fingers do actually serve a purpose. Now, from learning on YouTube, what I've gathered is people cut these little fingers here, fold them over, and then they are welded to the actual body of the car to stop any rocks, debris, or anything like that going into the actual middle of the car and then causing rust and all that sort of stuff. Now, one, I don't have a welder, and two, I can't weld. So Colourcraft are actually gonna help me out here. Well, I think they are. I'm gonna put the whole car together, get the whole kit on and everything, then drive it down to Colourcraft, and they will do the tubbing. That is gonna be the last little things that need doing. But for now, we need to carry on fitting the rest of the kit, which consists of drilling out these holes and putting rivets in there. Then we can put the actual proper hardware in for the kit, and then also we move on to the rear spoiler and the rear diffuser as well. So let's carry on. There's no need to complicate. Okay, so we've just got to drill the holes a little bit bigger so we can fit the riv nuts in. And here's my little riv nut gun, which I bought specially for the job. Now again, this is a long process. I've got to go through every single hole that I've drilled in the car. But it leaves a much neater finish than just self-tapping the kit to the car or just straight riveting it to the car. Okay, so the GT86 is looking far from pretty at the minute, but trust the process. All these riv nuts are now in place, so I can now bolt on and off the kit as and when I want, which is exactly what we need to be able to do for painting and that sort of stuff. Now, the one thing that we haven't sorted out yet is this little baby here. So once we get bigger wheels, we'll actually be catching on that because the wheels will be wider and they'll also be bigger as well. What I've seen a lot of people do is cut this with little slits, like I've done at that terrible mess on the back, and then hit that back. It sounds sketchy, but well, that's just the way we're going with this build at the minute. So let's do that, and then we can bolt on the rest of the kit on this side and move on to the rear. Okay, so I'm just going to need you guys to bear with me on this build. I know this can look really sketchy, but trust me, it's all in the process. This is what's meant to be done, I think. So once I've hammered this part of the chassis out of the way, I just applied some anti-rust paint just to obviously stop it from rusting. Then once this is done, I can then begin to bolt on the kit with the new hardware that I've got, these black Allen key bolts, which will look nice and fresh once everything is all painted, obviously. Now I had a bit of help from Hannah to hold it in place, but once it's all on, it's pretty easy to bolt on and off. Just a hell of a lot of Allen key bolts. Okay, so finally we have one side completed and fitted to the car. It actually doesn't fit too bad for a replica Rocket Bunny kit. There is little imperfections here and there, but to do the rear tubbing, to weld all that stuff up, we're going to go to Colourcraft to get them to do it as well, so they could probably help touch up a bit of the fiberglass. Now, moving on to the rear. So we've got this diffuser to get rid of, and the chap who sold me this kit said the rear diffuser on the Rocket Bunny kit can be a bit of a nightmare to fit. It doesn't quite fit the best. We've got to get rid of these ugly rear lights, and of course, if you watched the last video, you'll see that we have got a mighty big wing for the GT86. So let's carry on. So it only took seconds for me to realise that the rear diffuser definitely wasn't going to go on first time. So I took a pass on that and moved straight on to the rear lights. Pretty easy to remove the carpet, then there's just 4 10mm bolts at the back and an electrical connector. I just really don't like the standard lights, they just remind me of something off a Lexus. And that's why we've upgraded them to these LED lights. They look so much better. And of course they fit on the same way the old ones came off. And they're plug and play as well, which is a bonus. No coding needed. That's what I like about these Japanese cars. You just plug anything in and it just seems to work. Okay, so he was not wrong about the rear diffuser being a nightmare to fit. This one looks as if it bolts directly over the old one. This diffuser is actually connected to the bumper. You can't actually disconnect it from there. That one looks like it bolts directly onto it, but it is just too short. So maybe we're gonna have to cut and then fuse it together a little bit wider somehow. I may need a little bit of help with that. But as for the rear lights, they look a lot better. Now, onto the spoiler. Now, I want to take it outside to do the spoiler. Okay, so I say we're still at the point now where it looks ridiculous before it looks good. Check it out. Okay, so we are halfway there, I'd say. Half of the kit is on, half of the kit is not on. We've still got a front splitter to go on, and we're still on stock height with the stock wheels, which looks absolutely ridiculous at the minute. And it's just about to get a whole lot more ridiculous. Okay, so this is the mother of all carbon wings. The biggest wing that I've ever fitted. This car is just getting more and more ridiculous by the hour. So me and Hannah are gonna, well, we're gonna try and fit this to the rear of the car. We've got to get that mini wing off, get this wing on. Let's do it. Okay, so we need to get this old mini wing off. Pretty easy to do. It was literally just on clips. But the problem with that is once we removed it, we can see a lot of holes in the boot that are going to be needed to be filled. And speaking of holes, here comes the new wing, which needs to be drilled onto the back of the boot. Yep, more drilling. I let Hannah hold it in place for about 3 minutes by herself, and then I came, marked out the holes, and began to drill out the boot. Now I admit it wasn't the easiest thing to fit, but once it was fitted, oh yes, we have got a big wing. and done. This took way longer than it should have done. And I know what you're all thinking. You think I've gone absolutely mad, but just bear with me. Just bear with me. This is the wing of all wings. The Max Daddy of wings. The biggest wing that I've ever fitted to a car. Is absolutely massive and ridiculous. But this is Fast and Furious, Tokyo Drift, Need for Speed, all put into one. Now, they're still going to need a little bit of work because these brackets are, well, they're a little rough around the edges. They're horrible. They need to be painted, I think, as well. Probably a gloss black. And then the hardware, these are just the nuts and bolts that I was working with at the time. So I'll probably change these for some nice Allen key bolts. We've still got holes in the boot lid, which needs to be filled. But again, this car is a work in progress. Bear with me at the minute. I know it looks absolutely ridiculous. Some of you guys have got the faith in me. Some of you think, well, this is never going to turn out right. Trust me, bear with me. There's still a lot to do. So let's get this car back into the unit. And the kit doesn't stop there. There's a front splitter which needs to go on. You guys have seen me fit so many front splitters to so many different cars before. Same concept, different car. We're just drilling a lot of holes in the bottom of the bumper to put a nut and bolt through. Throwing a ball to Kevin, then carrying on with the splitter. Kevin inspected it to make sure it's nice and secure and it's definitely not coming off. And 10 out of 10 for that. Okay, so I would say that we've made progress right now, but the car's looking a little wild and we've still not got the passenger side done yet. This is definitely going to be one of those builds where you guys are going to have to stick with me and keep the faith on, because right now I'm even doubting myself. So obviously standard height, it looks absolutely ridiculous. Once we brought this down a few inches, then it'll bring the front splitter down, the side skirt down, and it will look a lot nicer. And then, well, the wheels, they look like clown wheels on at the minute. Now, obviously, this is a replica kit. It's never going to fit 100%, and there's still things that we need to touch up. We still have a lot of light gap here between the bumper and the light. We've got this little gap here to sort out, and there's just little lips on the side of the bumper as well, which aren't great, which aren't fantastic, but they're all things that can be sorted. Moving on to the rear, we've still got the crazy diffuser to put on, which needs modifying to put on, but I'm sure I can manage. The new lights are looking good. The wing is looking absolutely mental, but then moving on to here, well, it's a different story. Now, I would have loved to have got this whole kit on just for this video, but it seems I kind of underestimated the amount of work it actually does take to get a wide body kit on, especially for me not being a body shop or having very little body shop experience. But you know what? I'm having fun doing it at the minute. This is definitely a work in progress. We're definitely going to have two types of people in the comment section after this video. The one type which thinks, what on earth are you doing? This looks absolutely ridiculous and you've ruined the car. And we're going to have the other side which have got vision like myself. I think this is going to turn out to be absolutely incredible. If you just squint a tiny bit, you can imagine the finished product now. I think it's going to look absolutely insane. So bear with me, have vision. This is going to work, I hope. But hey, the main thing is that I'm having so much fun doing this and I'm learning a lot as well. And if you guys have enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button below. And again, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.